Hi, this is Mike with Everon Technology Services, and in this short video I'm going to share with you 7 tips for keeping your data safe and lowering your IT support costs. Data loss in the US costs businesses approximately $18.2 billion annually. That's a huge number, and I think everybody has experienced the frustration of losing that important file, presentation, email, whatever it is, the downtime, the lost productivity that has associated with it. It can be very, very frustrating. So what I'm going to do is give you 7 tips to make sure that you can avoid that data loss in the first place. Tip number 1. Clearly identify the place on the network where data should be stored. We see this all the time when working with small businesses where people think that they are saving their data to the right place, and it turns out that they are not, and they just don't know it. Either some sort of drive share is mapped incorrectly, or people just don't understand where to put their files. So make sure it's very clear to everybody where they are supposed to save their data, and also make sure it's very clear that their computers are set up so that ideally those files are saved in the right place by default. And of course, that place should be backed up on a regular basis so that everybody knows that they're saving their data someplace that's getting backed up every day. Tip number 2, save your work frequently. Nothing is worse than working on a file, getting half an hour into your work, and then having something happen and losing all of that work because you did not save frequently enough. So every few minutes when you're working on an important file, just reach up and make sure that you hit the save button. Tip number 3, change your password frequently. Unfortunately, there are all kinds of malicious people who are trying to get into accounts all the time to break in and steal data and delete data. So make sure that you're changing your password frequently. That just makes it harder for somebody to catch up with you and figure out your passwords. Tip number 4, never give your password to anyone. The only person that should be able to access your data is you, and of course your network administrator, but your network administrator will be able to access what they need to access. So anybody else that asks you for your password, that's a no-no. Don't give them your password. Don't give it to anyone. Tip number 5, always make a manual backup before traveling with your computer. More and more people are traveling with their laptops, taking data with them, and unfortunately laptops get stolen, or they get dropped, or they get rained on, whatever it is. Make sure that you have a manual backup of that data that you leave back at home or at your home office before you travel. Tip number 6, password protect sensitive files. If a file is really important to you, there's an extra level of security that you can put on it. You can actually password protect that file specifically, and you can assign it a password that's different from your typical password that you're using on the network and on your computer. So this is just an extra layer of security, and is a very good idea, particularly for any files that are being emailed around and could potentially fall into the wrong hands. Tip number 7, understand how to identify and avoid common virus, spyware, and data theft schemes. There are always new viruses being created, spyware being created, and of course malicious people out there that are coming up with clever ways to steal your data. So you've got to be on the lookout for them. For the most part, they all have very identifiable patterns and approaches that they're using. So you should just understand some basic guidelines on how to identify these viruses, spyware, and data theft schemes before they actually have the opportunity to get on your computer and do something bad to your data. So learn how to identify those and learn how to avoid those. So that's the 7 tips. Again, I'm Mike with Everon Technology Services. Everon helps small businesses around the country. We provide IT management and support services, as well as data protection services and web marketing services. We provide those services nationwide, and typically on an unlimited flat fee support model. We try and be very easy to work with. If you're interested in learning more, you can visit our website at everonit.com or visit our blog at smallbusinesstechtips.com. Thanks for joining me.